One thing I've noticed, darling, it's so much fun to talk like Cruella. I really like Cruella, the character. I think she's so fabulous. But one thing I've noticed in our discussions is that you can say good and negative things about something, and people will tend to only remember the negative things. So I want to, and I have some negative things to say about Cruella, but I want to say very clearly up front that I really, really enjoyed this movie. It's a fun movie that I really believe in. I love what it has to say, and I would greenlight a sequel right this second. I need a sequel. And I already have plans to watch it 2 more times. I'm going to watch it once early in the weekend with my family because it's the holiday weekend, and then I'm going to watch it with you for our watch-along party on Sunday, May 30th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you do the Disney Plus purchase, where you can watch it as many times as you want, I suspect you will be at least watching sequences of it quite a bit. There's a lot of stuff that I can't wait to see again and talk about with you. But it's not a perfect film. So I want to be honest with you, and I want to manage your expectations. And I feel that some people will come for the film, some criticisms fair, and some I think unfair. But I wish the movie had not opened itself up to some of that critique. I wish they had watched it with a more careful eye to avoid those pitfalls. All right, so let's talk about it. So Cruella is a surprisingly long movie. It's over 2 hours. Now, when I first saw that, I was like, oh boy, a full evening. But about 2/3 through it, I started to get a little bored. Like on the second or third montage, I was like, come on, guys. I felt the movie lost its way a little bit. Also, it features a reveal that most people, especially if you watch a lot of stuff like I do, you will see it coming a mile away. So it took a little too long to get to it. I was like, come on, how do you not see what everybody else can see? But when everything started to come together at the very end, and Cruella as a character really started to take shape, to come into focus, I was so happy with this new Disney princess, a true feminist icon. You might be wondering why I'm calling her a Disney princess. I'll tell you a little bit here. But when you see the movie, you'll be like, oh my God, it's a Disney princess. That I became 110% Team Cruella. And again, as I said, I am eagerly anticipating a sequel. Yes, I would say that this movie is more about explaining Cruella, kind of like repositioning her as a character. Don't worry, she's still pretty much a villain. And setting up that sequel than being a proper film itself. It really can't stand on its own, I'm afraid. But the explanation and the setup are so good that it's easy to forgive. I would say this is like Frozen. Remember Frozen? Although I didn't like Frozen the first time around. I had a lot of problems with it. But I came to love the Frozen as an idea because everyone else liked it so much. I like a good party like Cruella. But everyone acknowledged, even people who loved the first Frozen were like, look, I know the movie has major problems, but what's good about it is so good that we're just gonna look past that. And I think that Cruella is kind of in the same space. So before we get to the good stuff, and don't worry, this is a non-spoiler review, who's to blame for the movie not being a home run? Well, I would say it's director Craig Gillespie. That's right, I feel like, I don't know, like he did I, Tonya, and I'm sure he contributed something to the performances and that stuff, but when it comes to directing, actually directing, like the look of the film and where he put his camera, I mean, he just consistently made the wrong choice. Like, for a movie about fashion and striking visuals, he's just not at the level he needs to be. In fact, there's a car chase that's so poorly filmed that it took me out of the movie for a moment. I was like, how do you not get that powerful shot of Cruella's iconic car? I mean, they showed it a little bit, and the car, and Emma Stone as Cruella do a lot of the work. I mean, you can see the car, you can see Cruella driving it, but I was like, please lower the camera and get it looking up shot. How do you not have this shot? So that was really frustrating for me. And then, of course, I do have to say that the script is partially to blame. Not very much so because, well, here's the thing. It's the script's fault that it loses its way 2/3 in. But it comes up with such clever ideas and witty dialogue for the rest of the movie. So I can't say that the script is like a problem. I mean, I think the script could have been tweaked, but I would keep the same screenwriters going forward, but I would not bring back Gillespie to direct the sequel. I would get a new director. I really feel that's crucial to the success of the sequel. But luckily for this movie, and for us, you could just plop the camera down and film these amazing performances, costumes, and production design. Stunning. Absolutely amazing. Also, the script, as I said, is very, very clever in many places, especially in how it modernizes the classic 101 Dalmatians story. Anita and Roger are both race-bent, but are still so perfectly Anita and Roger. I love their casting. Stay for the end credit scene. Stay for the end credit scene. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to do a spoiler review, and one of you asked for me to do a video about what I would like to see in the sequel, and I'm going to do it because I like the movie. I told you, I get excited about it, even though I'm like, I feel like it's like, okay, the movie has problems, but I'm so excited about the idea of Cruella overall. Again, it's a lot like Frozen. Also, the script manages to actually make Cruella still pretty evil. I mean, I thought that was fantastic. Not so evil that you have to feel guilty about rooting for her or that you can't root for her, but I really respect the choice to keep her as much a villain as possible. I mean, she's pretty mean in parts. And no, she doesn't. I know this is a non-spoiler review, but some of you have been really upset about the fact that you just can't make a character sympathetic who wants to kill dogs for their fur coats. That's no longer a part of the character. They do find a very clever way to still give that a nod because it's part of the history of the character. And I think that was just handled beautifully. And so you should see that. I mean, we'll talk about it in the spoiler review. So it's there, but it's like also not there. This movie is actually about dogs, very much about dogs and dog lovers. And it has some really cute dogs in the movie. I mean, I thought that was great. This is very much a movie about how awesome dogs are. I thought that was so cool that this movie also has that element to it. And they even managed to work in Horace and Jasper watching TV with some dogs. I'm not going to give anything else away, but as a fan of the Disney classic, it was so cool to see that. I was like, that is nice. Again, there's so much stuff I just love so much. So yes, Emma Stone's Cruella is genuinely mean, and Emma Thompson's Baroness is a monster. Flat out monster. Very timely as horrific behavior from bosses in Hollywood is getting called out. And like Frozen, there's a heavy feminist bent to both of these women. Locked in battle, so cool, but in agreement that they want it all and won't let society hold them back. And their begrudging respect for each other is pretty freaking cool. I loved that. Glenn Close's Cruella vilified the female businesswoman and kind of turned her into a clown. But she was still a great performance, but Emma Stone's Cruella and Emma Thompson's Baroness show that it's more complicated than that, and that women can be warped in the pursuit of power just like men, and also sometimes, and I loved this, are unfairly seen as evil for wanting power because they're women. Cue the Taylor Swift song, right? I mean, I thought that was so great. Close, as I said, was a caricature, while Stone and Thompson are more in line with Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada, and also how Joaquin Phoenix humanized the Joker and made him a character that you can root for. Is Cruella like the Joker or Harley Quinn? I think there are moments where you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of like that. But I think that the movie makes her own character. Cruella, she does have the flair of a comic book villain. Although with today's Instagram stars and, the way that's done, I think that's very clever, the way that's kind of worked in here and addressed here. We're all being turned into comic book villains. But I think that Cruella is so firmly rooted in the world of fashion that she becomes her own character. And I thought that was so great. I love that. If you watch Halston, who's also kind of mean sometimes, if you watch the recent Halston show on Netflix, which I loved, also very similar. So I think that the similarities are faint with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, but I think in a good way. Some of the similarities in how the characters, again, are humanized, even though they still do horrific things. Don't worry, no dogs are hurt. All right, there's so much for us to discuss in the spoiler review when it comes to the twists and turns of this movie. Oh, wow! And that's why, along with Emma's performances, the costumes, the production design, and again, the super clever adaptation of the source material, Cruella is definitely 100% worth seeing. You need to see this movie. But one of the rockiest parts of the movie, besides 2/3 in, is right when the movie opens. I know, what a time for it not to deliver. But I think the sequences with young Cruella are not very good. They will make you be scared for the rest of the movie, as I was. Like, whoa, what am I in store in for the next 2+ hours? So what's wrong with the opening? Well, primarily, I don't think they did a good job casting young Cruella. She seems absolutely nothing like Emma Stone. No one would ever think that version of Cruella would become the adult one, but thank goodness she does. She's not a particularly good actress. I don't think she's a particularly likable actress. And I think the hijinks that are written for her just come across as really contrived. It feels at first like a movie for very small children. And one of those movies where you're like, it's definitely for small children and definitely not for adults. So again, I was nervous. Also, this is where they do the most of the setup to make this a very hardcore Disney princess style origin story. And well, trust me, it all works out by the end of the movie, but you're gonna be like, what are you doing here? What's happening? It checks so many Disney princess boxes, it's crazy. It's like, it gives you whiplash. But don't worry, it all works out. But the beginning of the movie is rocky. So you gotta have faith. But once Emma Stone shows up, who, by the way, I realized watching this movie, she has the classic Disney princess features, from the big eyes to the small chin. Halle Bailey has those same features, which is why I think she's such a great Ariel. But Emma Stone is so fantastic. I mean, she does so much. Really, it's a star turn. It's just so, she's had star turns, but I don't know. Emma Stone, she's always been a good actress and always a very likable actress, she's a good comedian, she's a great dramatic actress, but everything just came together here. It's incredible. As I tweeted in my reaction when the social media embargo lifted, this is a Disney princess I can get behind. Cruella is my Elsa. I just absolutely love her. And she still has some romance in her life, by the way. I would never have thought of putting Cruella and Jasper as a couple. And don't worry, that's not a spoiler because it happens immediately. It's very much a part of the movie. And I absolutely loved it. They are just such a fantastic couple. I need this to happen. But I will say the reason that I bring it up here is that one of the ways that Cruella becomes quite mean is in her treatment of Jasper. And I think that I had a hard time watching it, and I can see a number of guys really not feeling good about the movie because of that. And I don't know why it was necessary to maybe not make it at least more of a mixed bag, because why open the movie up for that? I just think her treatment of Jasper was really bad. I felt really bad about it. Now, I wish that hadn't happened, but I do think the relationships can still be salvaged in the sequel. So I still feel good about it, and I feel bad that the movie, I think that Cruella is a mean person, but I just think they didn't do a good enough job with the nuances of that situation. But do I want Jasper to be in an abusive relationship? This is tough, as you can see, for a Disney movie, no less. All right, so anyway, Paul Walter Hauser is a fantastic horse. So good. Mark Strong is his Mark Strongiest. And John McCrea makes history as the first, no mistake about it, LGBT Disney character. I know a number of you have been just teased too many times by Disney at this point, but I feel they really made a major step here. This is very, very big deal. He has several scenes, fabulous fashions and dialogue, and he even saves another character. And there's even more cool stuff about his character. His character is integral to this film, and we will definitely discuss him in the spoiler review. Again, we have so much to discuss. And that's it. I would definitely see Cruella. There's just so much cool stuff that you need to experience. But just again, keep those expectations moderate. Now, where should you see it? Should you see it on Disney Plus, or should you go to the theater to see it? Now, I saw a screener. I was given a choice, and I'm still at the point where, given a choice, I will pick the screener. I suspect it might have been better on the big screen. As I told you recently, I rented a theater, and they played the trailer for Cruella in front of the movie that I saw, and it looked very, very good on the big screen. But again, as I said, I'm not ready to go back that much. So you need to decide what you're comfortable with. And I still think you'll have a lot of fun watching it on Disney Plus. And again, you can watch it and sequence parts of it multiple times, and I think you definitely will want to. So again, don't miss it. Just keep those expectations balanced, and then get ready to get excited with me about the sequel. Plenty of more coverage coming. Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.